On the issue of police salaries, you know, the police union had a huge fight with City Hall over their contract, and, you know, they compare their salaries and their benefit packages to other agencies in Broward, and they're not at the top, you know, and they say that's why they're losing officers to other agencies. So the contract that was approved was not a long contract, and the city's going to be back in negotiations soon. How would you address the whole salary issue now in this budget environment?
Yeah, well, obviously, it's going to be dictated by the revenue stream and a lot of other factors, but, you know, my philosophy on pay for everybody is, you know, you pay somebody what they're worth, and you have to deal with the market conditions, okay? Whatever they are, that's reality. So I've talked to Chief about this, you know, because I do know Adelaide a little bit. He went to training, and I went to training. I think he's a good man.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's been telling me, because they've been trying to fill some positions, and he's been telling me that, you know, it's looking a little better for Fort Lauderdale, because here the guys are sitting around and looking at Hollywood or Pembroke Pines or whatever, and they look at their budget, they don't see $70 million in the bank account. You know, so they say, well, there's some stability here, and then you got to look at the business environment, or the you know, the actual office of the department environment, who's leading it, you know, who's involved. So it's not all about money all the time. I mean, I run a small firm, you know, there's 10 lawyers, and when I hire a new lawyer, I said, if you want to make the most money, don't come here, because you're not going to make the most money here. I can't afford to pay you the most. You might be worth more than I can afford to pay you, but tell you what, you're going to have a great working environment, you're going to enjoy the people you work with, and, you know, it's not going to be all about the money.
Right.
And I think that's my philosophy. You know, I think we got to look at the market, and we have to deal with that. But
I think I know the city employees are worried about, just like we in private business, about layoffs and furloughs, and you know, at the very least, should employees expect to not get raises next year? And what do you think about layoffs? Is that inevitable?
Yeah, well, I think layoffs are always the last thing you want to do. But you have to roll back sometimes. I don't know. You know, I got to get in there and really dissect that budget and see, you know, how it lines up in terms of the operations, because it's hard to see that on paper.
But philosophically, would you favor spending some of that $70 million and hoping that, you know, I guess on the theory that next year things would have already rebounded, or do you just try to go ahead and cut to something that's sustainable?
No, you know, you can't make your decision in a vacuum, and we're going to have to look at, okay, use March. You know, where are we in March of 2009? You know, what's this economy doing? What can we look down the road and see what it might do? We know we're going to have a lower property value that's coming down the pipe. You know, that's a given. So all that's got to be thrown into the computation to see, you know, what's the revenue stream and how does that balance out with our expenses. So you know, philosophically, you know, I'm a businessman who tries to be fair and equitable with everything I do. That's how I run my office. That's how I run my life. And, you know, I'm going to try to handle those situations as they come. But I'm not going to prejudge it or guess what it's going to look like.
But I'm just saying, philosophically, just like in my, you know, as a person, if you see that you're going to have a shortfall, you could use some of your savings, or you can just cut your cable bill and you know, shave things down.
Yeah, and when the commission passed the last budget, and I saw the $70 million, and it's really about 3 or 4% above what they use as a real gauge for what's prudent and fiscally responsible. So it's oversubscribed, so to speak. I said, well, why don't we give some property tax relief? Okay, because here people are hurting. You know, they're losing their jobs, and you know that's got to be a big part of the equation. And so we're going to have to balance that with what's fair and equitable for the employee. You know, how about the guy out there who doesn't have a job? You know, at least you got a job. You know, you got your employment, and you might have to make less, but you got a job.